Welcome, everybody. So excited that you're here for this episode of Soulful Sessions. We are talking emotions and essential oils. And so my guest today is Becky Russell, and she's going to share with us her wisdom and knowledge around the emotional aspect of support that essential oils can offer us, as well as we'll probably get into the physiological benefits as well as the emotional ones. But today, in this day and age where there's a lot of emotional angst and unrest, and people are looking for some support. They're looking to bring more joy and peace into their lives. We felt this was such an appropriate time to share this wisdom with you, and hope it benefits you in the long run. So let me share with you a little bit about Becky Russell. So her purpose and passion is to let as many people as possible know the power of essential oils and the benefits of a holistic approach to wellness, treating the entire body, mind, body, and soul from the inside out instead of just treating symptoms. I love that, Becky. She believes everyone deserves to age with a quality of life. And when I met Becky, we spent a fair amount of our conversation about this. And I love her philosophies and her vision when it comes to this idea and concept. As everyone who's listened to Soulful Sessions for a while knows, I always share the guests' sun, moon, and rising sign. And so everyone out there can take a little listen here. Becky is a Sagittarius sun, a Virgo moon, and a Virgo rising. So what does that all mean for anyone listening? And maybe this will be news for Becky too. So your Sagittarius sun. So your sun is your outer world. It's how you present yourself. And so Sagittarius people tend to be very action oriented. They tend to be very focused. They know what they're going after, and they do everything they can to hit that target, hit that mark. A Virgo moon, your moon is your inner world. It also has to do with your mother. And I think we're going to be talking about mother relationships later in the show. And the Virgo is about being reason oriented. You listen with your head. It's very logical. Even though Virgo is an earth sign, there's a lot of mental action going on. Now, she's also a Virgo rising. Your Virgo rising is the way you present yourself in the world, like your personality, what you're rising into. And being Virgo again, this has to do with the powers of observation and being able to take the powers of observation and create something and organize structure. Again, it's Virgo. Virgo is very organized, very structured. And so it's kind of interesting when you've got that inner and outer with the moon and the rising working together. So she's got a pretty structured, kind of follow along with that Virgo ideology path as far as the direction for her life. Okay, and then she's got that fiery sun, which just makes it even more likely to happen and take shape, take form. Okay, Becky is also known for saying, choose you, choose natural, choose now. And you will likely see exactly where that saying comes from as we dig in. Before I allow Becky to say something, I want to share with you where you can find her. You can find her at hopeessential.com. And you can also find her on Facebook at Hope Essential Becky, and on Instagram at Becky Russell with 2 S's and 2 L's, Hope Essential. So Becky, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay, great. So I open every episode with the same question. And so I'm going to start here with you, and then we're going to kind of really dig into the essential oil aspects and how they can support us in our emotional and physical bodies, and really spiritual too, if we want to really get, into the nitty gritty. So would you mind sharing with the Soulful Sessions listeners about a recent experience that lit you up when you just knew it was your soul talking to you?
Sure. I assume I'm not the only mom in here or woman who has control issues. And I'm
raising my hand.
And I really, really work hard to work to alleviate that as much as possible. And especially when it comes to parenting, I think, mom knows best. You want your child to make good choices, etc. But when they're adults, that can be very challenging and not very accepting from that adult child. And so recently, my son, who is now 36, he made what I feel is a bad choice on something that affected our entire family. And my instinct is to hammer him to fix it, to do the right thing and fix it. But because of 4 different things that happened, I was able to refrain from doing that and not have the physical manifestation of the frustrations of not saying what I knew you wanted to say. I handled it all so differently than in the past. And there's 4 reasons why that happened. I was angry, disappointed, sad, angry, and to the point where he had a birthday coming up, I did not want to be in the same room. That is how, and it takes a lot to get me angry. I'm very even keel. And so it was very important to me to figure out how to handle this birthday coming up, because we always celebrate birthdays, and yet I can't be a hypocrite. I can't just sit across from there, fake smile. That he's going to know. There's no way for me to hide that. I don't have a poker face. And so I reached out I've learned not to just throw everything out to everyone and ask advice. I picked very specific people for advice. And some acquaintances gave me their advice, which did not feel right. I was appreciative, but it made me realize, no, that's not my way to just be cold and cut him off and make him figure it out. That's just not me. And then I did a couple of sessions of quantum touch. And if you don't know what that is, it's an amazing modality. And it really helped me on so many levels. It was so timely. And I normally don't do that kind of self-care that quickly. I fuss over it. Should I do it? But I instinctively knew that's what I needed. So that helped. And then I talked with a really close friend who gave me the best advice that I felt I could, go with. But the most important thing that helped me was reading the book Judgment Detox by Gabrielle Bernstein. And this is where my soul just was freed. And I'm probably going to get emotional.
It's okay.
Her theory or her belief is that we all have a journey that we're on with lessons to learn, and it's up to that individual to choose to learn or not learn. And when you don't take the time to learn the lesson, it just keeps repeating itself. And so what I took from that and what it also reinforces is when you insert yourself into someone's journey, you are actually harming them. You are keeping them from having that choice of learning. And for a control person like me, it was like, wow, I can sit back. I can offer love and support, but I don't have to fix anything. It's not up to me. It has nothing to do with me. So I was able to just let that sense of responsibility, that obligation, that guilt, that mama bear instinct to keep the family together, I was able to let it go and not resent that I was letting it go. It was freely done, and it was so liberating and such a sense of peace. And I was able to go to his birthday lunch. I was inspired to take some pictures of him from when he was like 8 years old, adorable. And I shared them at lunch with his girlfriend. And there was nothing fake about it. It was wonderful. And then after the birthday, I was able to set boundaries in place that was helpful from that point on. So that was definitely lit up my soul.
And so you were guided, to the books and to the people that were supportive for you, that helped you see a different way and make a different choice in, what was a pivotal, it sounds like, moment within your relationship with your son and potentially other family members that could have been affected by how you responded to the situation at hand. And it
really keeps giving. He somehow sensed that change of energy. Obviously did not say a word, but he somehow sensed that energy shift. And from that day on, there's more communication, there's texting. Now it's nothing deep, but it's more than what was there before. So there was definitely a shift.
Well, and that's something that's huge, you know, and I found this in my personal life as well as my working with clients, and, you know, where they have relationship struggles or issues within their families or intimate or professional worlds. And, you know, it only takes one person to shift a relationship. I think we're all under this, you know, misconception that it takes two people, like two people in the relationship, and both people have to change and they both have to be on the same page. And, you know, that's not necessarily true. You know, one person, like you said, you made a different choice and you came to the birthday celebration with a completely different mindset, you know, emotional space, and we're able to shift that relationship. And it's, if you think about how powerful and profound that is for anyone listening, you know, if they are having a challenge in a relationship, you know, and it's not, you know, I think the distinction here, and, you know, this is a kind of a beautiful segue into the oils, is that you can have in your head, like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring these pictures and I'm going to talk to everyone. And you know, and you can have in your head, this is my plan, but unless your head and your heart are in alignment, that person's going to know where it's coming from. And it almost comes off as a manipulation instead of this heart forward, open, expansive gesture of love for the person that you're engaging with. So, you know, I'm curious, like with this situation, you know, did you use any oils to help support you on that? And if you didn't, you know, maybe you could share another story. I know one story for sure that I would love for you to share is one that Becky and I talked about, I believe it was last month, about a time when she was feeling a lot of resistance to something going on in her life. And she had an aversion to a particular oil. So I know it's kind of a two-pronged question, but, you know, I would love for you to just share if you used any oils with the situation with your son, and then share the story about, you know, if for people who may be resisting something in their life, I think this may change your perspective on that.
Well, I think for the issue with my son, I diffused a lot of what I call happy oils. And peppermint is the oil of the buoyant heart. And it's one I use more than any. And so peppermint was one. Peppermint and spearmint I absolutely love. And then there's the citrus oils that are uplifting. So I just really was alternating between those. And then there's an actual book that is all about it's emotions, and it's the oils, and it's also gives you specific recipes for those situations. And so letting go, there's a recipe for letting go. So that was one I did quite a bit too. And healing, because there's, you know, when you're that angry, you know, there's some, and forgive, there's an oil blend actually called Forgive. So I blended that with the oil blend called Cheer. Those are two of our emotional aromatherapy oils at doTERRA. So combining those two not only have been proven in studies to lower your stress, but just what those two names embody, that those emotions, it just makes the heart lighter. So.
And what is the name of the book, if you don't mind? Because I know people will be asking. I kind of put you on the spot.
It is called I Am Fabulous.
Oh, how fun. Okay.
And it is fun. It actually has drawings, and you can color.
Oh, wow.
And so it's sort of a therapy book. And I have it right here, Mend the Heart. That's the one I kept doing that week before, just to, because I was very hurt. And Lang Lang is in there. We're going to talk about next.
Yeah, so share the Lang Lang story. I love this.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if any of your audience has suffered from the mean girl thing, but I definitely have. And but I thought at age, you know, in my 60s that that was done, but apparently not. I guess I was in my late 50s then, and this was a pattern for me, but it had basically leveled off. And I think more so because I don't know that many people here in Tennessee yet, maybe. But when you have a pattern like that, I mean, I do look inside and go, well, is there something wrong with me that this keeps happening? And so I had a situation where a networking group that I was involved in, a group of healers in the area, there was a situation in a coffee shop where three of them just basically acted very rude, ignored. They knew I was there. They sort of ignored me, and I didn't know why. And I was crushed. And so my instinct was, I'm too old to deal with this anymore. I'm not going to. I don't have to. So I just didn't go to the next monthly meeting. My decision was just stay away. Well, when I talked to another healer friend who was not part of that group, and told her what happened, and she saw how upset I was, and she said, let's do a theta therapy session, which is very similar to quantum touch. And so we did a theta therapy session, and it was very helpful, and she made me realize it's about them, what they're dealing with, not me. And so with that session, I was able to actually go to the next meeting. And again, not be fake, not just very calm and peaceful. And because my normal instinct would be to be guarded, you know, and like you said, that's a different energy.
Very different.
And some of the women were there and they hugged me, and there was absolutely nothing on their end that was, you know, happening. So it was very strange. But the story with the lang-a-lang is, when all this was going on, I was looking for an oil to use as a perfume that had a floral scent, because I already had a spicy one that I'd made up. And I like to have my natural versions of what you find in a store. And so I knew lang-a-lang had that floral scent, but I also remembered I did not care for the smell at all when I first smelled it a couple years ago. And I thought, well, you know, it's been a while, maybe I just need to smell it again. And when I smelled that oil, I was just so overcome with this need to have it on me and smell it nonstop. And it was just bizarre because I knew could not stand the smell years ago. And I had just ordered the book, Essential Emotions, and was waiting for it to come in the mail. And I could not wait to look up what lang-a-lang, what the properties were. And when I got it and read what it said, I'll just read you a brief little part of it. But this is out of the book, Essential Emotions. And I'm a published author, so words are very, very important to me, and they matter. And whoever wrote this, they are a beautiful, beautiful soul, a beautiful writer. So a lang-a-lang is the oil of the inner child. Now remember, I've had this issue since childhood. And so lang-a-lang reconnects individuals with the inner child and the pure, simple ways of the heart. Ylang-ylang is also a powerful remedy for releasing emotional trauma from the past. It is a fantastic support in age regression work and other methods of emotional healing. Ylang-ylang also assists individuals in releasing bottled up emotions such as anger and sadness. Feelings that have been buried inside are brought to the light through ylang-ylang, through that assistance. This oil allows emotional healing to flow naturally, nurturing the heart through the process. It reminds the individual that joy can be felt and experienced more fully by allowing the heart its full range of emotions.
Profound. Beautiful.
I mean, it's hard to believe an oil can do that. but to this day, I wear it as a perfume. I absolutely love this oil now.
The really interesting synchronicity was when Becky shared this story with me. I'm on the 6 month journey with dealing with, deep emotional wounding, having a sense of how I engage within relationships of all kinds, even the relationship I have with myself. And around the time we had this conversation, I have the same feelings about Lang Lang that Becky did. I really do not care for the scent. I have yet to smell it since we had that conversation. And this is a reminder that it is something that I definitely need to look at. But when she was sharing the story and read the description that she just shared with all of you, I literally was stunned by the fact that that's exactly where I was in that moment. And I didn't recognize it. I didn't see it. And, I have a sneaking suspicion that a number of folks that are listening to this are going to go, whoa, holy cow. I totally get that. Like I've got to go find myself some Lang Lang to smell, to use, to experiment with and see what opens up and heal those really deep wounds from the past, many of which we either have buried and have long since done our best to forget, or like with you thought, at this phase of my life, why am I dealing with this? Like, what the heck is going on? So it's just interesting how the universe always puts in front of us what we need when we need it, regardless of how we feel our life is supposed to be. And, it's so, one small little thing I want to share that kind of piggybacks on this is, before we began recording today, I got a phone call from my mom, and she doesn't call me a ton. She's not a big phone person in these later years of her life. And it was about 5 minutes before I was going to get on to record this with Becky. And I'm like, I got to answer and just make sure she's okay. So I was running a little bit late. Becky was very gracious about it. And, it dawned on me, like I had a huge epiphanal moment with my mom about emotions that came up. And then Becky said she wanted to share about a particular oil that deals with mom issues. And I thought, interesting. So I'm kind of curious, like people out there listening going, mom issues? Yes. Hello. That's also me. And, when it comes to the relationships we have with our moms, regardless of age, I am a daughter, but I'm also the mother of a daughter. And so, for those who have that experience of being sandwiched in the middle of two women, regardless of ages, it's a very interesting place to be, because you see the patterns that you had with your own mom. You see the patterns that you have with your daughter. You recognize patterns that you have with your mom that you absolutely do not want to repeat with your daughter. And then you see patterns that you did repeat with your daughter that you never intended to repeat with your daughter. And I think it's fascinating, the more time that goes by when you reflect on these things, how much you can learn about yourself when you reflect on the relationships that you have with those two very intimate women in your life. Your girlfriends are amazing, and guys out there, it's the same with you. The women in your life have a really strong impact on you, whether you're aware of it or not. But that the woman to woman connection, it's different. And so I'd love for you to share, Becky, kind of what your insights were, what you had in mind as far as sharing with essential oils and the mom issues that may come up.
Well, my mom issues were pretty severe, to the point where I did not want to have a daughter. I wanted all boys. That's how, and there was no abuse, nothing like that. It was just me being very sensitive, a very sensitive soul that was very inward, total opposite of everyone in my family. And that threatened them all somehow. And so and never really had that mother-daughter bond. And it was heartbreaking. And so I did not want to go through that. I didn't want that chance of that happening with a daughter. So I prayed for all boys, and God knew what he was doing. I had a vision when I was pregnant that I had daughter. I pictured her in her dad's arms, dark hair, long dark hair, the little red velvet dress with the white little hose and the black patent leather. I mean, I saw it all. And that's exactly how she looks, just like her dad. And but thankfully our birthdays are just a week apart, and we are so close. So it's such a different relationship. So thank God, I was not in control of that. But yeah, there's a couple of devices out there that can measure, how when you try to measure BMI on a scale, it has that same kind of science behind it, of the apparatus you hold in your hand, and it will pick up what oils you need. And so anytime, I don't have it, but anytime I'm around someone who does, I always ask to have that test done. And every single time, one of the oils that pops up first is myrrh. So of course, when I kept seeing that, I looked it up in my book, and myrrh is the oil of Mother Earth. And the myrrh oil nurtures the soul's relationship with its maternal mother and with the earth. This oil supports individuals who have had disturbances with the mother-child bond. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
Whether it's the division between the child and the biological mother, or Mother Earth herself, myrrh can help bridge the gap and heal the disturbance. When the mother-child bond has been disrupted, the soul may lose its childlike ability to trust. Feelings of trust are replaced with feelings of fear and a belief that the world is unsafe. Myrrh assists individuals in letting go of fear. Through reestablishing a healthy connection to the earth and to one's own mother, myrrh rekindles trust within the soul. As the individual learns to once again live in trust, confidence in the goodness of life returns, and the soul feels safe and more at home.
That strikes me in so many ways. I think right now, in the climate that we're currently in, I don't mean to use that as a pun when talking about Mother Earth, but there is such an earth connection that we're having. There is a shift that's occurring on the planet. And so it seems to me like myrrh is almost like a staple oil for folks to really reconnect to the earth in a new way. And whether your mother is, living or not, I don't know that it, and in my opinion, I don't know that it even matters, because, you can heal a relationship with someone even if they're no longer here in this physical reality. And it's really just about doing that work within yourself and sending out that love or that healing or that forgiveness or intention to the loved one. So I think, I was, kind of just getting this feeling and this sense that people may listen, well, dang it, like it's too late. My mom's gone, where it's never too late to.
And do you know one I've read somewhere, a way you can tell that you've healed it?
I would love to hear.
When you are retelling a story that at one time was very, very painful or hurtful or, whatever, when you can tell that story with a peaceful heart. So I don't know about you, but when I'm disappointed or angry or sad about something, that comes through in the word choices, in the tone, the loudness of the voice, the intensity. You're there, you're reliving it. But when you can just sort of share that story, sometimes even with a sense of humor, like now I can sort of laugh it off. My mom got her last dig in me on her deathbed. I mean, that's just how it was. Now, could I have said that 10 years ago? Nope. I would have been still very, hurt and, in the middle of it, trying to process it. So that's one way you can sort of tell if you're there or not.
I think that's beautiful. And that's such a great tip, because, I think when you're able to recount a story or something that was very emotionally charged without the emotional charge present, that is a surefire way to know it no longer has the same effect on you that it once did. And, the other aspect of that I think is really interesting is also, when we share these situations, like you sharing this story about your mom and your son, even with others, I guarantee you there are people out there who have had similar situations and they felt like a bad person, or they felt really judgmental of the other, or they could not see beyond what was right in front of their face. And to hear someone share a different perspective from a different vantage point, maybe just the little shakeup that was needed so that they can actually heal whatever that wound is within them. And what a gift that is, to be able to let that go and to not have that be a part of your story anymore. I mean, just
Right.
huge, absolutely huge. Um, if you don't mind, I'd love to shift ever so briefly, because you mentioned trust when describing myrrh. And, a couple of the emotions that I had mentioned to Becky that I wanted to talk about that have come up a lot with my clients is sadness, fear. I mean, fear is always a big one. So, I mean, I don't even know why I even mentioned that as one specific one. And then guilt. And Becky brought such a beautiful insight is, she was being drawn towards looking at distrust and, trust, like kind of the other end of that spectrum, has been another big piece of the work that I've been doing for myself in particular, and also with my clients. And so, what I think is really, really cool about diving into this is that, we're all, regardless of what's happening globally, you can probably think back to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever, where there was this time in your life where you just didn't trust what was coming. You didn't trust where you were. You didn't trust yourself. You didn't trust the government. You didn't trust your friends. You didn't trust your whomever. And we're in that sort of mindset and that sort of feeling again. And that distrust leads to all of these lower vibrational emotions. So, I think most everyone would be really anxious and excited, anxious in a good way, to hear about what oils might be supportive to feel that sense of trust again. And then, thusly bring in that sense of being at peace with the unknown, and bringing in more joy and that sense of safety, and just letting go of all of those emotions that are important to have because they give us information. But so I'm not saying we're not looking to like get rid of them, but we're looking to learn what we need to from them, and then put them to the side and heal and bring in something else after we've learned what we've needed to learn. I guess that actually is probably a pretty significant distinction for people to understand, that we're not talking about,
No, we don't want to smother or deny any of that.
Exactly. They're showing up for a reason, dig into it, ask the questions. This is something I mentioned a lot, is you keep asking, why is this here? What is this showing me? And you keep going until there's nothing left. You've got what you need to get. Journaling is super helpful. I recommend that to everyone, whether it's a voice journal or a written journal. Keep track, or, on the computer even, just keep track of those things, because you will likely begin to recognize patterns that show up and how you can navigate them. Similar to what Becky shared at the beginning of the show. She went a different way. She didn't go down that same well-worn path of expressing herself in that with that hurt and pain and anger. So, Becky, so talk to us about distrust and oils that can support us on that journey.
Well, at first I want to stress too, oils are not cures. That is not how we should look at them. They are natural. Our bodies are natural. And so there's a synchronicity involved. So it's a support. It's a tool to use. So it feels miraculous when you have those results, but it's nature doing its thing. So just want to make that clear.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because it is a co-creative process. So it's, it's not like you just take these oils and all of a sudden, poof, your sadness is gone. It's, kind of like what I mentioned before, you have to be involved in your healing, and you have to, have a deeper understanding as to why these things are showing up and how you can transform that into, transform that sadness into joy with the support of the oils and other, other healing modalities that you may be called to or drawn to or appear for you on the journey.
It takes a village to be well. I truly believe that. And in the holistic path, you want to take your magic pill and make everything go away. There's a price to all magic. So that's another podcast.
Yeah.
So when I was thumbing through this book, I actually forgot that they have an index that sort of, you look up the emotion that you're addressing, and then it gives you not only the oils that are recommended, but some affirmations and some other things to help. So under distrusting, they have geranium, marjoram, myrrh, align, breathe, jasmine, arbor vitae, turmeric, and align. Now, some of those you may not even know what those are, but if you want to understand that more, you can just reach out to me. But another thing that the question they have you ask is, what am I worrying about? What causes me to feel unsafe? So these are questions like you were mentioning, keep asking. Have I been unpleasantly surprised by life in the past? And then an affirmation of, I now choose to anchor to truth. I am now confident and safe in this present moment. And then they give you a little meditation of, imagine yourself as a tree with roots anchored in rich, nourishing soil, receiving everything you need to be safely sustained.
That feels so beautiful and so solid and grounding. That image of a tree, that's actually one of the strategies that I share in a distrust for success book that I did for teens. And that is, just imagining yourself as a tree. You're solid yet flexible. You can bend in the wind and you can move with adversity, but you don't lose your footing. You stay solid on the ground. And this sounds like just the perfect combination to support that, that visualization, and even standing strong, in a mountain pose, for those who are familiar with yoga. Have there been any oils in your life, other than the ones that we mentioned, that you found when you've worked with clients, or in the years of your own personal practice, that would be really beneficial for folks to incorporate in their day-to-day life, or maybe if they have a struggle or something that's coming up for them that they need a little extra support with? Or do you have any recommendations there?
I would just say we have a set of 6 emotional aromatherapy oils. So if you are going through a loss, if you're grieving over something, if you have lost the zest for life, you don't know why you get up in the morning, if you are holding on to resentment, those kind of things, there are 6 emotional aromatherapy oils that there's so much science behind it, and they've specifically chosen different mints and spices and fruits and all those woodsy scents as well, that into these blends to help with these different emotions. And so forgive and cheer. Forgive, obviously, well, maybe you won't know, but forgive has a very woodsy, grounded feel with frankincense and some other oils in there. And then cheer, it obviously has some citrus in it. and other oils, but those two were in a study were proven to lower stress the best, the most. And so I, if I'm dealing with something, I will typically just combine them in the diffuser, because that just, why not? I'm going to cover all the bases. The other four oils are passion, motivate, peace, and console. And so what I have found is people have reacted to these oils with one smell from the bottle. They are almost like I was with the ylang ylang. I have to have this. This is like they are almost obsessed. And so when you have that kind of visceral reaction to the smell of an oil, good or bad sometimes, that's a sure sign that there is that need, that you're going to find that healing there. So those are very powerful. Now you can have obviously similar reactions to just the single oils, but these have a special blend to it. And I'm trying to get, like, I've talked to different funeral homes and such, trying to get them to understand why not include this as a gift for someone who's grieving, a diffuser and console and peace. And that would be what a wonderful gift, instead of maybe another plant that's going to die and make you feel worse, because I don't grow things well, so that's probably what would happen. It's something that could actually be healing right now. So that's one thing I'm really working hard on, to try to get people to think outside the box. Think of how you can help your friend who's just lost their spouse. And yes, it's great to take meals over and do things for them, but this could just be the start of their healing. So very powerful.
That really is powerful. I mean, that totally spoke to me. I have a friend I haven't spoken to in quite some time, who lost her very young daughter suddenly. And, it was a family I was very close with my kids growing up. And, it really, it's interesting today, literally I sat down to write her a note, and it's like, I don't quite have the words yet. I'm just giving myself a little bit of time. And I had pulled a little something aside to send to her as a support, and it didn't feel quite right. And so you've now just given me an inspiration of something that may be very helpful to her and her family at this time. Also speaking about funeral homes, I think that's a wonderful idea, just a fantastic idea. And how about having it going in the funeral home itself when people are coming in, I mean, I know my father passed a couple of years ago, and I think that, while it was a very lovely, time, and all, a lot of family gathered, and it was very beautiful, that would have likely been very supportive for all of us, having that support in the background. We don't even necessarily need to be consciously aware that it's there, but just being able to navigate that, a really tough time of loss with a little bit more grace and ease is a huge gift. Really quickly, Becky, before we kind of get to the final question I have for you, one thing that I think it's important to mention is that these oils are powerful, and they are extremely healing if used properly. And so I think it's really important to mention that, the oils can be healing, but they can also be harmful if not used in a way that allows them to be healing. So could you share just a little bit with the listeners about the best, approach to utilizing the oils, and obviously working with you or someone like yourself would be step one, I would assume.
Well, first of all, don't assume that because you can buy an essential oil in a health food store that it is vetted, because anyone can put anything on a label. It is not a regulated industry. So do your research. And I basically proved this by going to a local store and bought their bottle of lemon, and it said 100% pure, organic, all natural, all the buzzwords. But in fine, tiny print, it said, do not ingest. And it was lemon. So why could you not ingest pure, organic, all natural lemon oil? Now, first of all, how many people are going to read that fine print? So there are people all over the world ingesting that lemon that shouldn't. And then if you smell, I love to take these to in-person classes, because if they can smell that lemon and smell doTERRAs that come from Italy, where the size of the lemons is the size of a grapefruit. So to smell that other oil with doTERRAs, there is absolutely no comparison. So do your homework and know that doTERRA has they were not satisfied with not having the, they raised the bar because of the lack of regulation. So we have a term called certified pure tested grade. So it goes through all types of third-party testing and beyond the typical generic testing, many levels. And then it's a very transparent company. So we have a thing called Source to You. Every bottle has a number on the bottom. You can scan that number or put that number into the website Source to You, and you can literally track the path of that oil and all the testing that was done.
That's very cool. I never knew that was I think for folks nowadays, I think that's a very cool feature, because, we oftentimes don't know where our items have been sourced from, and okay, there's testing, but what does that mean, really?
Right.
So,
and what we found is, going to the different trainings and so forth, there's the basic, like very typical 3 testings that people do. It's when you get to the next level of testing is when those off brands fall apart. Most of them can't even be in the testing because they're so awful. But the better ones, they hold up to that first 3 levels of testing. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, they start breaking down. So there's impurities and so forth. And a lot of people say, well, if I don't take them internally, it doesn't matter about the purity. Well, I disagree, because you are breathing in the oils. And where is that all going? Your skin is your biggest organ. It's inside you. So I don't agree with that at all. So you want to have the best oils. And then doTERRA has the word supplement on the bottles that you can ingest. So, and there are specific rules and suggestions about the 3 different ways to use the oils. That's why doTERRA does not sell in a store. They want us, people like me, to educate the customers so that they are not going to harm themselves. Many of the citrus oils are photosensitive, meaning you do not want to put them on your skin before you go outside in the sun. That could cause a reaction. Most people don't know that. You should only use glass or stainless steel or ceramic to put your water with the oils in it. The plastic, if you use plastic, it will leach because the oils are natural, the plastic is not, and that will leach those chemicals. You don't want that. Are you going to learn that in a store? They're not going to tell you those things.
Nope.
So you can take them internally if they say supplement on the bottle. 1 drop per 8 ounces, more is not better, because they are so concentrated. And you can put in your tea and your water. You can cook and bake with them. You get all the therapeutic benefits whenever you use the oils in any way. You can use them topically, which is, people think of massages and so forth. I make my own lotion scented with the oil of my choice. So I have my Lang-a-Lang in a roller that is diluted with fractionated coconut oil, because in my humble opinion, there's no reason not to dilute oils that go on your skin. There's 3 reasons. The oils are very volatile, so they evaporate quickly. Once it leaves that bottle, it's already dispersing in the air. So if you have it with the carrier oil, it's not going to disintegrate so fast. So that's a good reason. Another reason is if there is a skin sensitivity issue, that carrier oil is going to minimize that. And then the 3rd reason is it saves you money. It makes your oils last longer. So I do not know why you would not dilute. And you can, if you put them in Epsom salts for your bath, that's one of my favorite ways to use them. Put them in the salt first, the Epsom salts first, because oil and water don't mix. So if you're just putting them in your water, it's staying on top. So put them in the salt first, then dump them in the water. And be careful of the hot oils. If you put oregano in there because you read somewhere it's good for pain, you probably aren't going to be happy, because oregano is a very hot oil. You will be burning all over. So there is education, and that's why on our team, once you're a wholesale customer, we have weekly education for our members, and it's like a $300 worth program of education. So it's very, very important to understand the power of these oils. And then of course diffusing aromatically, you can use them. And one thing is, we love the smell of the oil so much, a lot of times we just want it going nonstop. That's not necessarily a good thing, because it's sensory overload, and you can get very sort of immune to the smell if you have it going all the time. So I recommend getting a diffuser that has that intermittent spurts. So every 15 minutes it's going on and off, especially if you're doing it at night. You just, as much as it smells amazing, to have it go 8 hours is not necessarily the best thing.
That's very interesting. I've never heard that before. And I loved your tip about the Epsom salts and the oils, for a bath. That's a fantastic tip, because I remember I don't currently have a bathtub in my current home, which I miss very much. But I do recall taking baths with Epsom salt and with oils, and thinking, I don't feel like I'm really getting the full benefit of the oil. It wasn't like you said, and I know oil and water don't mix, but it didn't even occur to me to mix the 2 together. So I think that's fantastic. And I know a number of people who have the diffusers going at night, who probably have them going all night constantly. And, like you said, getting that nose blind sort of sensation, and then saving it, not having it going for 8 hours nonstop. It will definitely last longer. So those are really fantastic tips. Thank you for those. Closing out here, I have one final question for you. And before I ask that final question, I just want to see if there's anything that you would like to share. I know you have a monthly webinar that you do that's free. I think the next one is on March 4th of this year. And it's balancing blood sugar naturally. And this is something that is very near and dear to your heart, Becky, I know. And if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the listeners before we wrap up here, how they can find out more information about that, and, kind of recap where they can find you.
Okay, yeah. Type 2 diabetes runs very strongly in my family. I'm genetically predisposed, but so far, because of, I feel, my holistic path, not going in that direction at all. So very happy about that. So I just want to share what I've learned on my journey of over 25 years of holistic living. And, it's not just about the oils, it's a lifestyle change, just like anything. And so if you're looking for that magic pill, don't bother. But if you're looking for support and a different approach to balancing blood sugar, I would love to have you join me. It's the first Thursday of every month. So March 4th is the next Zoom class. And it's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually lasts about an hour. And you can find the event on my Facebook business page, Hope Essential LLC, or Hope Essential Becky. And then on my website, I have everything, hopeessential.com. So, and you can sign up for a free newsletter monthly. And there's lots. I'm all about education, so that's my favorite thing. So that's another way to get more information.
I love that. That's awesome. And I feel like you've offered such a wealth of information to our listeners today that I'm excited to read your newsletters every month. So that's really, really cool. Okay. So Becky, we talked a lot about oils and, their role in our lives. And I feel like, with most of these more holistic practices, there's a ritualistic nature involved. So would you share what rituals you have that you use to tune into your soul's voice and to bring your soul online for you each day?
Well, the holistic approach involves all three areas: the emotional, physical, and spiritual wellness. So every morning I diffuse oils as I'm journaling, and that is, starts with gratitude. And I use a method called the Miracle Morning, and it's amazing. And so I do that pretty much every morning. And the other thing, the spiritual part, I feel the most connected spiritually when I am in nature. So, hikes, Tennessee's beautiful. So hikes, the waterfalls, all that with my husband is so fun. And honestly, anytime I'm on the back of our Harley with him, that feels like I'm going to church. It is just so, my soul is so happy when we are doing that, because Tennessee is just so beautiful. The mountains, we're right in the foothills, and my soul sings. It's just wonderful. And I do a joy journal at night, again with a different blend of oils. So those are my rituals.
Oh, I love that. And so, you mentioned the Essential Emotions book as a resource for you. Do you have any information if people are looking to purchase that for themselves? The author's name, perhaps? Is it easily accessible, or something that's more geared towards essential oil practitioners?
No, you can buy it off Amazon. The only thing is, I believe the 9th edition is the most current, and you always want the most current one just because of the different oils that are coming out. And I believe you can only get the 8th edition on Amazon. You would need to go to a place like Aroma Tools, or that's the main one I know is aromatools.com.
Okay.
They have those, all sorts of resources for essential oils.
Okay. And one final question, you mentioned something called, I think you said Miracle Method, if I'm not mistaken, as
Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning. I've not heard of that, and I'm sure others also have not. So I would love, if you don't mind, just briefly sharing with us what that is. Well,
I'm a personal development nut. So I'm always reading, looking for different things. And Hal Elrod, his story alone is worth the book. He is a miracle himself that he's still here. And he, at one point after a pivotal near-death experience, decided he had to get his life in gear. So he analyzed what the top people in network marketing or sales, or because that's what he was in, what they do every day to be so focused and be successful. And so in all that research, he discovered 7 things. They did a combination of these 7 things. And so he decided to combine all 7 in a morning ritual. So there's the journaling, the affirmations, reading some sort of personal development, some sort of movement, whether it's yoga, whether it's your workout, whatever, you're moving your body, and visualization. And what's the other one? There's one more. Meditation. So you can do it 5 minutes each. You can do 1 minute each. You can do however you want to time it. But if you do that in the morning, that just sets you up for a more productive day. And so it's pretty phenomenal.
That sounds awesome. I know I've had a number of other teachers that I've had that have mentioned something similar, not quite that, not with the fun name of Miracle Morning, but the concepts are still there. And I think it is a fantastic way to start the day and to kind of get you, revved up and ready to go. And you got your mind and your body and your soul working together. I mean, it sounds like, a pretty, kick butt sort of way to go.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Becky, I thank you so much for joining me and the Soulful Sessions listeners today, talking about essential oils and so much more. It was an absolute pleasure. For anyone who is looking for Becky, you can find her at hopeessential.com as well as on Instagram and Facebook. I'll have the information in the show notes. I am your host, Amalia Natalio with Karmic Kindness. You can find me at Karmic, Karmic, kindness, kindness.com. I am here for all of your soul advisory, spiritual advisory needs and approaching yourself in a really different and unique way. And Becky clearly is your go-to gal for essential oils and so much more. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation today, a beautiful, captivating conversation with Becky Russell. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Soulful Sessions.